Mm. So, good evening, everybody. I'm Pascal Brakman, and I'm co-founder of RouteYou, and I welcome you on our RouteYou special about how to create routes and use routes for motorcyclists. So that's what we're going to do tonight. You will also hear and see Rein Simon, and she's responsible of communication and marketing. Some practical aspects before we start. Your microphone is muted, which means that we can't hear you, so we don't hear any background noise from your side. But if you want to ask a question, you can add your question to the chat function you will find on the top or the bottom of your screen, and we will respond to that question as quickly as possible. So we're watching what your if you pop any question, Rein will answer the questions when I'm talking, and vice versa. Some people ask if they have to take notes while we're recording this session, and I'm just checking. Yes, it's working, and we will spread the recorded video next week or at the end by this week, and then you will find it on YouTube, and on the bottom you will see an overview of all the several topics, because we will discuss a lot tonight. It might be a lot, so you can easily watch and check it again at your own tempo. So what kind of solutions will we discuss today? Well, obviously we're talking about motorcyclists, and we're first going to look how you can find a route which is very suited for you out of the more than 3.5 million routes which are available. So there's a professional offer available. There's also a lot of community routes available, and there's a continuous verification, which we will talk about on the routes. We will also see how you can make your own routes, very simply from A to B to C, or just a simple loop from where you want to start. And Rein will show you that in a few minutes. You can do that as well locally in your area or internationally. And we will also see how you can plan your route along specific places to stay, for instance, which are motor friendly. And we will check out how you can combine your route with points of interest. So how you can add points of interest and stories to your route, so you can take that information along with you with a guide. And we will also see how you can plan along those points of interest which are interesting to you. You can step on the shoulders of professionals and a huge community, which means that we are emphasizing a lot on how can you be creative, combining other information, using your own information, and we are going to see how you can use reference route and specific points of interest to make your own motorbike route. The next step, if you created everything, you probably would like to share it with your friends or with your club members, or you might even like to create an event, or you want to allow multiple outputs so everybody can use the route in the way they like to. For instance, the classic is, of course, GPS systems, like the most famous ones are TomTom or Garmin. I'm thinking about the TomTom Rider and the Zumo, but there's also a Harley-Davidson version and other type of GPS systems you would like maybe to use. Besides the GPS systems, maybe you prefer a smartphone. A lot of motorbikers have already something to put their smartphone in. We will also see there how you can make use even of the RouteYou app or any other app you would like to have. We are also going to discuss paper. That might sound a little bit weird, but I'm going to try to convince you to that paper might be useful, for instance, to have a backup or a guide which gives you all the information if you want to see in the evening what's coming up the next day on your motor trip. For clubs, we're not going to talk too much about clubs tonight. There's a special webinar about that. Just know that as a club, you can create events, and that your club members can have a reduction if they want to make use of the RouteYou Plus accounts. That brings us to financing model of RouteYou. The basic usage of RouteYou is free, so you don't have to pay anything to make use of the routes or to search for routes or to make them even. So then the question is, why did we do that and how is that possible? Well, the reason why we did that is that most of our customers are organizations, could be clubs, could be tourist organizations. And of course, if they create routes, it doesn't make sense that you should pay for them because then it's not a kind of promotion for them. So that's why the simple basic model of the usage of the route should be free. It has been implemented. Of course, if that's free, how can we make the platform run and keep it running? Well, the first step is that on the free accounts, you might see advertisement unless some professional organization created the routes, because then it's advertisement free. If you never want to have advertisement, you can use a RouteYou Plus account. And that's, of course, ad free, but it has also a lot of advanced creation and usage functionality, which we will discuss tonight. You can try it out, of course, the free always, but the plus you can try for 2 weeks and see if that's something suitable for you. For clubs, we have a premium account with more features related to publishing of the information, promoting the organization, branding, and so on. As I said, we will not discuss too much about that today, but no, that's also existing. This brings us to the agenda for tonight and the demonstrations which we're going to give on the platform and show you how you can make use of the platform. As I said, Rein will start with finding the most beautiful motor routes and store them so you can keep track of them later on. The second one is I will talk about using those routes you found or stored and how you quickly can adapt them. The third part is going to be about creating your own routes on the desktop platform. And the fourth part will be combining several routing options and why that would be useful for you as a motorbiker. The fifth chapter is about planning along specific points of interest. And I end up with using a lot of great reference routes which are available in the system so you can plan your own version of those routes. And again, how you do that and why that would be very useful. This brings us to the first part. So we're going to switch to Rein and I'm going to stop sharing and Rein will explain you how you can find the most beautiful motorbike routes and use them. And use them that well, I will explain it later on.
Okay.
Rein.
Yes. Can you see my screen?
I can. Thanks.
Yeah. Okay. Good evening, everybody. So I'm going to cover the first part, and that's about finding and storing or saving the most beautiful routes on RouteYou. So I'm logged in with a Plus account, as Pascal mentioned before. So I can surf ad-free and I have several advantages. If I encounter one that is specifically for a Plus account or higher, I will make sure to alert you on that. So let's go to the RouteSearcher. To do that, we go via the main menu that's accessible via this icon here on the top left. If you click it, you enter in the main menu. Here on top, you can see I'm logged in. This is my personal part. And then here I can set my language. So if you want, you can adjust it according to your own preferences. So for the RouteSearcher, we go and search for a route. This takes us to this module. And as you can see, it exists from two parts. On the one hand, you have the list, and on the other hand, you have the map. And with these icons here, you can switch those two. So you can choose to have a bigger map and the list in a smaller or a compact version, or you can do it the other way around. What's pretty important to know is that the map also functions as a filter. So you will see once I zoom in that the list will adapt accordingly. So that's very important to know because sometimes people have the idea that they don't have any results, but sometimes it's because they're zoomed in too much or to the wrong location. So always be aware that the map functions as a filter for this list right here. So the first thing you're going to do if you enter the RouteSearcher is to decide which kind of route you want to find. So in this case, this evening, we will focus on the motorcycle. So that's indicated by this icon here. So if I click it, the submenu opens, and then here I have the choice. I can open all to choose for a route for cars, or I can choose for the route for a motorcycle bike. As you can see, we have like a main level, and then underneath you have some sub-levels. So what's, for example, important to know that if you choose for an off-road motorcycle route, that it's possible that it takes the small parts of a local area. So it's important to take into account that this kinds of routes may access local paths that aren't really always open, sometimes private. So they are more often linked to a certain event or something. So please take this into account. The other part, other sub-part we have are the scooter routes. So these are more for like a Vespa style of motorcycles, so the smaller version, also recreational. And then the last sub-level we have is the tour motorbike route. So that's for people who like to go touring. Later on, when we make a route, I will also show you how you can save a route, and then you can indicate which type of route you have made. It's very important to always go as detailed as possible, because if, for example, I make a route and I say it's a tour motor route, if I access this main level, it will be shown as well. So the main level also shows the ones that are indicated here. However, if I take tour motor and I indicated my saved route as a motor route, it won't appear if I select this sub-level. So if you make a route, it's important to go as detailed as possible, because people who look for a route will do that as well.
Reen,
yes?
Can I just interrupt? Your navigation is still on Dutch, so it might be useful to switch to English.
Oh, sorry. Apparently sorry. Apparently it's got switched back. Sorry. So this is the touring motorcycle route. So, and here you got the off-road and the scooter route. Luckily, there's not much difference between the Dutch and the English spelling. So that's about the route type. So the next thing you're gonna do if you're gonna look for a route is look on a specific location or a region. For that, we go to the map, and here on the map you have this looking glass icon. If you click it, then the field will pop open. So now I could go to a certain region. I could go to on land level to France, but you can also zoom in even more, and let's say to the Vogesen. So that's how that works. You can also choose to go to a certain city, for example. Let's say I want to go to Berlin. As you can see, the map zooms to that location and the list adjusts to that as well. So let's say, for example, apparently a nice region to go to is the Eifel region in Germany. So here we have the list that pops up that is accordingly. As you can see, if I zoom out a bit, you have icons that are just like this, and then you have the ones that have like a dotted line attached. That means that the route passes through the map box, but at the beginning is not located in the map box. So that's why the dotted line is indicated here, because it kind of leads you to the beginning of the route. So, and if the icon is completely within the map box without the dotted line, it means that the entire route is located inside the map box. So let's say I find this list of routes, and I think, for example, this first one might be an interesting route. If I click it, then I enter another page. This is actually what we call the RouteViewer. So this is a detailed page specifically for this route. So here on top, it's indicated the title of the route. You have an indication of where the route is located, which type of route it is. So in this case, it's a touring motorcycle route. It has 4 stars. If you want to know more about the route score, you can click this icon and it will take you, as you can see, via a second tab to the help page, which has a lot more information on that subject. So, and there's also an indication of the kilometers here on top, but also you have the height profile here, and it's also indicated here the length of that route. So on the height profile, as well as on the map here, you have like these icons. Those are the points of interest. You can click them. If you click them on the map, then a pop-up will appear with the information that is linked to that specific point. You also find them here in the height profile. Again, you can click them here as well, and the same pop-up will appear with information related to that certain points of interest. So this is again the part with the map part, and on the right hand we have like a column with the information. You have several tabs here. The first tab is about information about the route. So we have an indication on who's the author here, how many times the route is viewed, that it's public, of course, otherwise we couldn't view it, and that there's also a description available in Dutch. And as we can see here, there's a stamp to say that other people have recommended this route gave a recommendation on it, and we investigated and it got the stamp. That means that it's got through our investigation on if that question to make it a recommended route was correct or not. So in this information column, the first thing you get is a route description. You have here a button that gives you the opportunity to directly navigate this route on your smartphone or to go to the print options. I will leave that for later on. The next part you have is the route information, which has some basic info on where the route starts or ends. And there's also a list of characteristics and themes and groups attached to it. So for example, this is an adventurous route. It's especially recommended to do in autumn times. It's a round trip. There's not a lot of traffic on this route, and so on and so on. So you can hover over it, but what you can do even more, and I will do it maybe once, if you click it, then you have the opportunity to go to other routes that are also linked to this specific theme or characteristic. So you can go to routes that are linked to the theme of mountains. I will not do that now. The last two are groups, but again, that will pop up later on in this webinar. There's also an indication of in which region this route is located, and then some statistics that give you an indication of how difficult or easy this route might be. So the total ascent, the maximal slope that you will encounter, the length of the route, which all give an indication on the difficulty level we can attach to this route. After that, you get some media. And then there's the next part is again the places of interest. So where you can click them on a map, you get a list here in this information column that gives you the list of points of interest in the order you will encounter them along the route. So you can see this is the first one. And as I scroll further down, if I enter to a next point of interest, then the next one will get a different color. So that is how this works. So you can go through the entire list. I won't do that now. So I will click this again so it closes. And then I'll show you, this is the next part. This is the part where you can leave comments. If you make a route, the first comment you get is one of our system, which has again some very useful practical information on this route. So we do a first scouting and then kind of give you back a first indication on specific characteristics of this route. So all the paths that are used in this route are well known. This is about how some characteristics of the landscape, if there's a lot of sound. I think this route, this information is now indicated in Dutch because this route was originally made in Dutch. If it's made in English, then this information will be in English. This part also gives you the opportunity as another RouteYou user to maybe leave a comment for the author. Let's say that I have done this route and I have positive feedback. I could say really nice route, thank you. Or I could also indicate if I have encountered maybe difficulties, if there was a part of the route that wasn't accessible anymore or needs a rerouting, then you can leave that comment here and it will be sent to the author directly. So this person can maybe adjust the route if necessary. So that's about the comments part. And then here you have like the activities part. And here you have the opportunity to indicate also when you have done the route or you are planning to do the route. So you can keep track of your things, of your routes here, or the activities you have done via RouteYou. In the end, you also get some indication of other interesting things nearby, other interesting routes nearby. And that's something new since just, I think, last week or the week before. We also give you an indication of the lodging nearby. And we're working to expand this to services as well. So keep this in mind. So that is about the information part. You have other tabs here as well. This tab takes you to the download and print options, which Pascal will discuss later on. You also have the opportunity to share this route with other people. Again, this will be indicated later on, and you have the possibility to edit a route. So if you have a Plus account or higher, you can edit the route of other people. If I would want to do this route, but I don't want to start here, but here in Traverse in the Ardennes, then I can just click to change the starting point, and then I can go to the location I want and just click on it. And then if I click change starting point, the system will make a copy of this route and then link that copy of the route with the adjusted starting point to my account, which will make me the author of that adjusted route. So always be sure if you do that, that you indicate who's the authentic author or where you got your inspiration from. So that's about changing the starting point, but you can also invert the route. So you can do it in the other direction. And with one move, you can also, if this route would be too long and you want to split it in like 3 times 100 kilometers, you can split the route with this tool. It's quite easy. You can figure it out yourself, or maybe if we have time, we can show you later on. So that's about the RouteViewer. Let me take you back to the RouteSearcher because I wasn't done there yet. So I got my list here. I'm gonna zoom out a bit again. What else can we filter on? So there's also this field that gives you an indication on, you can filter on keywords. Let's say I'm interested in everything with the word river in the title or in the description. So it takes into account the title and the description. Or maybe I'm interested in castles. Then I can indicate castles here, or maybe you're looking for a certain location. You can indicate that here as well as a keyword. So that's not to zoom into a certain location, but sometimes it's like indicated in the route title. The next field is author. If I will click this field, you will see that the first thing that pops up is that I can select to go to my routes. I haven't got any routes here of this type yet, but if you would, then they would be filtered out here. I could also, if you know certain authors, for example, I know that Dromos is an author that has a lot of routes. If I enter it here, if I know that this is a trustworthy author and I kept it in mind, you can filter it on this as well. Another interesting one is the Mobike Hotel. This, for example, has also a lot of interesting motorcycle routes. and maybe there are more, so you can indicate them here or enter them here and then filter on that. The next thing we have is the length bar. So you can filter on length. So you can say, I want to have a route that it's between 75 and 150 kilometers. So if I watch out, what's important, as you can see, you have to drag those two buttons. So there are two bullets here at the beginning and the end, and it's the green line that gives you an indication of this length. So it's not if you, because sometimes people make an error on it, they just slide it like this and they think that they now have routes that go from 0 to 50 or almost 70 kilometers. No, it's the green bar that counts. If you want to have routes that go over the maximum of this bar, just drag this dot, the last one, to the end. So then you can see that there are triple dots here indicated, and that means that you also get routes that are longer than 200 kilometers. So that is how this length bar works. So these are the basics of the route. What can I show you? As I said later on, you can click a route, but what I didn't say before is that you can also, if you use the share button, one of the options you have is to share it kind of with yourself, and that means that you add it to your favorites. So now, as indicated here in this pop-up, this route has been successfully added to my favorites. So that means that I kind of store it to my account, and I can watch it again later on. I'll keep it in mind for a next trip, for example. So that is how that works. So that's about the basic options. As you can see, we have an option here to go, or a button here you can click, or a link that gives you even more options. What can I tell you about these? Well, in these advanced options, one of the first things you can do is say, I only want to see routes that have a route score of 3 stars or higher, because that gives me more or makes me more convinced of the quality of those routes. So you can go to 4 stars. Again, it works in the same way as a length bar. So you have 2 dots, and it's the line in between that counts, and it's always indicated here what you have selected. The next 2 options are pretty interesting, because here you can give an indication of specific characteristics or themes that could be linked to a route. So let's say, for example, that you only want to see loop-shaped routes, or maybe you want to see peculiar routes or spectacular routes. So those are characteristics you can filter on. You can just filter on one, but you can also combine it then with a specific theme. If you're, for example, interested in architecture, you can indicate that here. And as you can see, the list adapts to routes that are linked to that specific theme, or maybe you're more into culture, or you're into history. And as I said before, you can combine those 2 if you would want to. So I'm gonna clear those filters. Group that will come back later on. If you want to have routes that only have information in a specific language, well, then again, you can indicate that here. Normally, you will only get routes that are linked to your main language you have set to RouteYou, but sometimes if there's no possibility available, then you get routes in other languages as well. Or you might choose specifically just that the information is less important than the fact that you have a nice route, and then you don't mind if the information is not in English or in another specific language. Then you can also play with like the difficulty level, although I think this is, for example, more interesting for mountain bikers or something like that. If they want to say, I want to have a short route, but with a higher difficulty level, or the other way around, a longer route, but with a more easy difficulty level. as I indicated, I have added that route to my favorites. So if I want to access my favorites, I can go to the RouteSearcher and here with more options indicate to only show my favorite routes. And apparently there's some lag in the internet, but still, as you can see, those are the routes that I have indicated that I have added to my favorites before. This is via the RouteSearcher, but know that you also via the main menu and then my personal space, you can directly access your favorites as well. It will then take you to this page with one click on the button. So the last thing I want to show you is that you also, like if you make a selection, then you get a list of routes, and it's important to know, and you can see that here very well, that this route sorting that is based on what we call relevance, it's not only based on the route score. So we take into account route score, but it's not the only thing, because you can see here on the second place is a route that has 5 stars, and the one that's on top only has 4 stars. But what else do we take into account? We take into account how recent the route is and how many views it got. So it's a combination of different things that makes for this relevant sorting. If you don't like this way of sorting, you can adjust it. You can adjust it on a name level, or you can choose to sort them by the most viewed this month or all time, or maybe the most recently created or edited route. If you are only interested in the score, you can indicate it here, or in the length. Again, that's all possible with this advanced options. So I think that covers about everything in the RouteSearcher. Pascal, I don't know if there are any questions about this part?
No, so far no questions.
Okay, then I suggest we go to the next part.
Okay, I will take over the screen, and I just lost, oh yeah, here, share screen. And if everything is okay, you see my screen now, Reen?
Yes, exactly.
Okay, so the second part is about not finding routes, but the second step is I want to use those routes. As Reen showed you already, you can make your selection of routes. So I'm just going to make use of that. I'm logged in with my Bruegel account, and I'm going to select my favorites. As Reen said already, here's a selection now of favorite routes I have. These are the ones in Europe. I'm going to take one in the north of Scotland. One of the most popular routes is the North Coast 500 route. So this is the route, and Reen explained you already. You have the map area, you have the points of interest, which you can select. So how can I use now the route? Well, the most obvious thing to do is to download it to your GPS. And here's the download button. Reen showed it already. And the first one of the first options you get here is the download of the GPX. So people who are aware of GPS systems, they know that the GPX is a neutral format you can download to your device. It's unfortunately not that simple, because not all devices have the same kind of language related to interpreting the GPX. That's why in the download option, we make a very specific distinction between the downloads to several devices. Let me give you one example. For instance, Harley Davidson, we recently added, because the GPX you have to upload to your Harley Davidson GPS system is a bit different in format than the standard GPX or the Garmin GPX or the Mio GPX. So that's something, of course, you don't have to know, and that's why we made specifically those devices. Let me take one of the popular ones, Garmin. If I click on the Garmin, you can send it straight to your Garmin device via the Garmin system. So I invite you to click on that if you have a Garmin device. And here you can specifically select, for instance, for the Zumo or a Nuvi or any other device you use in that case of Garmin. The reason why there are differences there is not all devices can handle the same amount of detail. Again, that's not something you should worry about. That's what we worry about. That's why we make those different devices. Or the different download formats. So how do you download it to one of those devices? Well, we can't explain it, of course, for every GPS system, but know that there's a question mark with more information. Let me click on it. And here you go to the help page of RouteYou, where we explain you how you can upload to your Garmin device with all the options. So again, if you would like to do it for Harley Davidson, you will click on it and okay, that's not ready yet. There we will update it very soon with extra information. Yes, so that's about the download part. You also notice that we don't only support download to GPS systems, which is the first part, but also to many other apps, such as Osmond, TomTom, actually, that's not an app, it's an app and a GPS system, Polar, and so on. The shapefile I come back to later on, that's also a possibility. So that's about downloading to your GPS. The second thing I want to show you is the usefulness of a print. You might think is like, that's not very useful. You can have an overview print, which is nice. I'm just going to show you quickly. That might be nice to keep it in your pocket if you're driving around, to have approximately an idea where you are. That's always very useful, that you just get a small A5 or A4 format. Here, that profile is, in this case, maybe not very useful. The points of interest might be useful, so I can see already where the next points of interest are coming. If you don't like the points of interest, in the more options, I can indicate, for instance, that I don't want the points of interest on the map, and that I don't want, for instance, the profile on the map. Let me show that again. And now I will get a cleaner map with more information on the map area and not with the points of interest. So here it is. Notice that you also have a QR code there, and the QR code is very useful because it brings you to your smartphone, and maybe from your smartphone to your GPS device if you like to do that. Let me take another example why the print would be useful. A very useful one, maybe as a backup if your GPS system breaks down, is the roadbook. And the roadbook gives you a more detailed map of that whole area. Again, it's not very useful on the motorbike, but it might be useful if you're completely lost and your digital devices break down. I just give it as a completeness to the options. So here you see that if I stop on map 1, I can go to map 2, from map 2 to map 3, and so on. You can also choose to make the maps a bit bigger. Those are all options which are available in the extra more options, which you can see here. I can choose that I don't want 6 maps per page, but more or less if you want to. And the last one, which might be very useful if we're going on holiday all very soon, is the guide. And the guide gives you all that information you have here, but with the points of interest and the whole text you get with it. So let me just demonstrate. Now I can download the guide. So this is the title page, who created it. These are some pictures. Then there's an overview of the map. And here at point 35, there are 2 items they're talking about. Here at point 2, there's also some information. Let me zoom out again. That's a profile view. And here you get all the individual information. We start here at River Ness, at Inverness. Here I get the explanation about Inverness Castle, Cathedral. And let me take another detailed example. Here at distance 19 kilometers at number 1 on the map, I get the information about the Beaufort Castle. So you get the ID. So you get a complete book of the routes and all the information you can see and add it along the route. Rain will later on talk about how you can add that type of information yourself. but this is how it comes out. And completely at the end, I have here, again, a QR code, and the QR code allows me to go to my smartphone. So if I scan this, I have all this information again digitally available. Let me just show you how that looks like. And I'm now going to simulate a little bit. So what happens if I go to scan that QR code? By the way, you don't have to go via the print. If you do it here, you also can scan the QR code here and it goes straight to your smartphone. If you didn't install the app, don't worry, it gets automatically to your browser, which is here. In this case, I'm just gonna refresh because that's what's happening. I'm just simulating what's happening now in the case you scan the QR code via the desktop or via a print. If you scan that QR code, you get to the route view, but now there's no map because the map is a bit hidden. There's not enough space for the map. All the rest of the information is there. So you have your route description, your points of interest, but here you see already the bottom to say navigate on smartphone. By the way, this does the same thing. Let's go to navigate on smartphone, and you see it switched from the information item to the map item. Here's here's now the map, and I can press start and record my route so I can see if I made a detour somewhere, and I can even share my position. That's nice if you have several people driving from several places to see where they are. Let me show you. I'm gonna not show the full screen. I'm just gonna see if somebody else, maybe Rain, is active already, or she can become active. And then I will see that she shared her position. So that's a possibility, but for the moment, nobody's doing that. So that might be very handy. Also on the smartphone device, if you, for instance, didn't have time to prepare your trip and the only thing you have with you, well, very easily on your smartphone, you go to RouteYou in this case. So I go to RouteYou. Also on your smartphone, you can search for routes. It's the same search system as you used before. So here's my menu structure. I can also search for a route in on my device. What I would like to do now is to say, well, I don't want I keep my favorites, but I want to go to my current position. So if I just press this button, I want to go on the current position of my map. There's here now a route around Brussels. So also on your smartphone device, you can do everything you can do on your desktop, including if you now want to download it to your Garmin device or your Brighton or your TZ or whatever, you also have that available on your smartphone, and you can do that. If I want to navigate here on my map, you see already, I can also use my smartphone to use as a navigation device, because it also gives me like the 3D view, and you will see that it follows my position. Let me just move it artificially now, and you will see that the system will come back to my position. So it follows you, and it also turns the map in the direction you want to go, or your bearing is. So that's in the case you want to follow on your smartphone. If you want to follow on GPS, you just download it to your GPS, or if you want to use another smartphone device, that's also possible. So those are the main three things you can do to start using your routes. Rain already mentioned it as well. On smartphone, you have the share button. Let's go back to desktop. Also on desktop, I have the share button, and the share button allows me to share it via my Facebook, via Messenger, via WhatsApp with my friends or my club accounts, or I can just email to somebody. And if you don't think that's enough, you can just take one of the 181 other options to share your route to others. For people who have a website or a blog, you also can embed this route with an iframe in your block, so people can see what route you did or what route you selected, and you can also share it that way. So that's the part about using the routes. Rein can now explain the third part, which is how can I create my own route instead of selecting one and using somebody else's routes? Rein, are there any other questions in the meantime?
There was somebody who asked how you can read the QR code from the RouteYou app. So you don't need to read it with the RouteYou app. Actually, you scan it with a QR code, or you scan it. The newest devices have like a QR scanner inside or inserted in the
camera.
The camera, yes, exactly. So often if you just like take a picture or like seems like you take a picture, then the device will detect the QR code and will indicate the link, and you can open it in that way. So all you need is a QR code scanner, or you can scan it with another app like the camera.
Rein, can I just also mention, for people who don't want to use QR code scanners because they don't like it, you also have the option that we give every route a unique code, like a short code. So you just write down this code, or you just copy it. And in that case, if I now go to my smartphone, and here in the search on the site, and I just copy this code, it automatically goes now to that route. So that's easy if you just want to share it with somebody and you don't have a digital way to do it, you just share that code. That's another option if you don't like the QR code scanning.
Jan also indicates that if you do that, it takes you to the web version of RouteYou. But normally, if you have the app installed, it should take you to the app, Pascal?
Exactly, yeah.
Okay. So I will continue now?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, so I share my screen. Can you see my screen? I would.
Yes.
So yeah, okay. So about the second part, so we have now seen how you can find routes, how you can use them, but of course the strength of RouteYou is most of all in the route planner. So I'm going to show you how you can easily plan a route, just the basic functions of this, and then Pascal will take you to the more advanced options. So again, via the main menu, and this time we're going to choose to plan a route. Here you have two options. You can upload a route. So if you have a GPX file you have found in another location, or you have made yourself with your GPS, you can upload it via this link. But now, for now, I will show you how you can create your own route. This takes us to the route planner. So again, we have two parts here. We have on one hand the map part, and on the other hand, we have the route planning module. So with this, we will manipulate what will happen on the map. But before we go there, I can show you that we have the option here to choose different kinds of map layers, but Pascal will go into that later on. For now, let's say, first of all, I want to make a round trip, and I want to go with my motorcycle, of course. I can just click on this icon. If you click this arrow, again, you get the same hierarchy we had before in the RouteSearcher. So you can go even more into detail and indicate it here that you want to make a touring motorcycle route, for example. Then the next part is that you can choose your routing. As I have a round trip, I have the option to go via the nicest way or the fastest way. I will choose the nicest, and I can give an indication of how long I want my round trip to be. The next thing here would be to enter your address. If you want to start from the location or your current position, you can choose that as well. So that's indicated here, and you can see that it's indicated with the crosshair icon, and that crosshair icon is also on the map. So if I click this icon on the map will zoom to my current location. So for the moment, I'm in Ghent in Belgium. So if I click it here, then the map will zoom to that location. If I click my current position here, then it will take it as my starting point. So I will do that for now. And as I have indicated the other options I wanted, it immediately creates a loop with those specific characteristics. From the starting point that is indicated with this triangle icon, I have now a loop that it's more in an eastern direction. As you can see, we have this icon here, which gives you the directions. I can choose to let the system map out my route in another direction very easily. So this is a really cool function, because if you're going to a certain location for several days and you want to map out really quickly several routes starting from the same location, you can very easily do it with this icon here. So here is indicated the via points you can see with the address. If you don't have a Plus account, then only the coordinates will be indicated here. I can now easily go and save my route. So and only, I have talked about it a lot now, but if you just click, 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 in a few seconds, you can make a really nice round trip according to your preferences. If you click the save button here in the bottom, then you get a pop-up, and here you can indicate some basic information on your route. So in which language your information will be, the name of your route. It just takes my starting point, so I could make it a bit more attractive. Motorcycle route around Kernbrugge, for example. That gives a little bit more indication, but be creative with it. And as I have chosen my route type here in the beginning, the system automatically takes this into account. If I would have, for example, chosen just motorcycle route, then it would be here. It would be wise, let's say this is a touring motorcycle route, to indicate that it's a touring motorcycle route. As I have explained to you before, if people look for a touring motorcycle route, your route will appear. If people look in the RouteSearcher for the more general option motorcycle route, your route will also appear. If I would now choose motorcycle route and people look for a touring motorcycle route, they won't find my route. So that's important to take into account. So be as specific as possible. And then the next thing you can choose, if you say like, I just made the basic for my route, I want to edit it more later on, I could keep it private until the point where I say, okay, now it's finished. Or you can just immediately make it public, and then here you can give a nice description. We give a sort of standard indication, but it's better to give a good description what your route is about, so if people find it, they can read it and know what they can expect. So just save the route, and now the system will save this route under my account. As you can see, I'm indicated as the author. Of course, I have 0 views now, and this route is public. If I refresh my page after a few seconds, then you will see that the system will automatically add some points of interest here. So again, in the same way, you can click them. And as I'm now the author, I can also manipulate them. So if you don't like a certain point of interest, with this icon here, you can easily unlink it. So if I click it, that point of interest will no longer be connected to my route. But more about that later on. Let me take you back to the route planner. So via the main menu, but as you can see, we also have some shortcut menus here on top of our website. And here as well, you can easily go to the route planner. So before we have planned out or mapped out a route, a round trip from a certain point. So I had done it from my current position, but I could as easily indicate an address here. For this second part on this, we will map out a route from A to B. Again, I want to choose a motorcycle route, and again, let's choose a touring motorcycle route. So where should we go? Let's go, for example, it seems that it's a pretty nice track here in Croatia. Where is it? Here. As I zoom in, there's this would be, as I read about it, it's a really nice track to go from Senj here So let's say I start, I can just click on the map as well, or I could again indicate my location or my address here, or if I'm at that position when I'm mapping out, I could also choose current position. Now again, I have several routing options, and the difference with the round trip is that you also have the option to choose the shortest way. Because if we do that, you don't get that option in the round trip, because if you choose the shortest way, starting from one point, you can just stay at home. So that's why we don't offer it in the round trip option. And here you also have shortest OSM and manually, but I will leave it to Pascal to explain that to you. So if you map out a route from A to B, you just more specifically say, okay, I want to go via that point and then that point, and I want to go all the way down. And let's say I want to go all the way down here and go further on and just take me all the way maybe here to this point. So that's how I easily map out a route from A to B. I could again save the route, or another option, let me clear out the route and take you to, for example, which apparently is also very nice to go with your motorcycle, is to Norway. The famous Heranger. That's a nice route to do. So let's say I want to start my route here. And again, as you can see, this is the cool part. I can map out my route, but I can continue to choose to do this way. And to map out this route, you can, I clicked next to this part here, I can just drag and drop it on that specific road again. Let's cross here. And then, for example, I could go all the way around to Mold, and the system will map out the route. But I want to go via this way. So that's again from A to B. But from A to B doesn't mean that you want to go, only want to go from there to there. I could choose again. Let me just change this point a bit to go around again. Just take me via other roads back to my starting point. And then we have a really cool button here in the right column again that says just return to the starting point. And then the system will map out using the same routing from that last point you have mapped out to your starting point. It now takes the same part again, but I can again just drag and drop and choose to go via another way. So from A to B also gives you the possibility to make a closed loop, but you more specifically indicate via which points or locations you want to go. As where if you choose the round trip, you just choose your start and end point, which is the same, and the system will map out something automatically for you. So again, the way to save your route is the same. I won't explain it again, as we have a lot of more things to tell you. So Pascal, I don't know if there are any questions about this.
Yes, there was a question about the round trip. If you make a loop, it's limited to 200 kilometers. That's maybe you can demonstrate it, Rain, that if you make a round trip and you select the starting points, you can indicate a maximum of 200 kilometers, but you're not limited to that. So Rain is now demonstrating that's the maximum. So it calculates it now, but now you can take those via points and you can make them even more wide if you like, so that it becomes much longer. We had to choose one limit. Some wanted to make it higher, but that's how you make it longer. And Rain already showed in the A to B to C that it's endless. You can make a round trip around the whole world if you like to. So those there's no limitation in distance. So I think that answers the question of Jan.
And something else I didn't indicate. So while you are planning, you always have a clear view on how many kilometers you routed. It's indicated here in the bottom left side. But if you have clicked open the height profile, which you can choose, you can toggle it here. It's also indicated here, your kilometers, while you are planning. We get a lot of questions about the height or the elevation while you are planning, but that's something we are still working on. So that's in the sideline. Voila.
Okay, then I will take over the screen and go to another aspect of planning. So I'm gonna go to the route planner, create a route. So that's a shortcut. You can also go via the menu. I want to demonstrate what the uses of combining several types of routing. So again, I'm going to start, for instance, from let's take Leeds, and I want to go from Leeds to the Scotland Highlands, but I want to go as fast as possible because I don't want to waste too much time from that point to, for instance, Glasgow. So in this case, I'm not going to take the nicest path because the nicest is not obviously the fastest. So I'm going to take the motor fastest to start with. And I'm going to take now a second an address. Rain showed you already. I could also click on the map. I'm just going to give an address and say, well, I want to go to Glasgow, a great city to go. So that's now the fastest part. So that takes me very quickly to Glasgow. But from Glasgow on, I want to do the nice parts in the Highlands. So I don't want to do the highways. So now I want to switch to motor nicest. So now it's going to take the nicest part. It asks me, would you like to adapt your full route? In this case, I don't want to do that because my first part is okay. I want to go fast in the first part. And in the next modifications, I now want to say, please use the nicest path. So if I now go from Glasgow to Inverness, I can just click on Inverness, or I could add an address here and say, please go to Inverness. And then, oh yeah, but that's not the right Inverness. So I'm going to say, please try again, add a destination, Inverness in UK. And that's the right Inverness. So now it takes me to the nicest paths from Glasgow to Inverness, and not necessarily, or definitely not the highways. Again, if you would like to go via other points, like for instance, Ben Nevis or something, I can just grab a point here. You see, I just move with my mouse over it. It becomes a via point, and I just select it and I force it to go that way. And it allows me to go back and forth because now it follows the principle from this via point to the previous one, or the first one to the Glasgow, I go via the fastest. The second one goes the nicest from B to C. And the last one goes again from nicest from C to D along the beautiful Loch Ness, just next to it up to Inverness. And you can keep on going, Aberdeen, and again, the nicest, Dundee. Once I arrive in Edinburgh, I want to go as fast as possible back to my home place. Again, I can switch and I go to motor fastest. You can see you can also take the shortest, but that's not necessarily the fastest. I can indicate the full route, but that would be wrong in this case. I can just say next modifications. And now I can just click, that's the fastest way to Newcastle. And then I just want to use that handy button here, return to the starting point. And again, it follows that point. Just another trick, if you don't want to go via Newcastle, here I can click on that point, or you see it also here in the list. Let me just click on it. It becomes red. Here it becomes red if I want to remove it. Now it's going to eliminate that point. So what's going to happen? Well, from that point, Edinburgh, to my home, it will automatically calculate the fastest. So let me do that. So I'm just going to remove it. And now it takes the fastest, and you see I'm not passing Newcastle anymore because that's the fastest path. So that allows you to combine several routing options. And most of the time, if you're a motorbiker, you probably don't want to do the nicest routes next to your home because you know them already. You want to go fast to the area you would like to go and then combine it with the nicest path in combination. So that's an example. Of course, I can save it, as Rain already showed you, and store it and print it and upload them to my GPS. Now Rain will show you, but how can we make use of all those points of interest which are in the system and plan a route along it? Rain?
Yes.
Okay, she's back.
I'm here. Okay, I'm gonna share my screen again. Yes. So, okay, some next level planning a route with using specific points of interest. So let's say, for example, again, I will take you to the route planner, create a route. So we have several map layers here, and one of the more interesting ones here, or specific ones here, is the places of interest. You can now see in the right column, you have the route planner module, but if I click this option's places of interest, then the route planner module will be replaced by the points of interest searcher. It's a bit the same as the RouteSearcher, but with a focus on several points of interest. And here you can use kind of similar way to indicate which type of points of interest you would like to see. So let's say, for example, I'm interested in a certain service. I'm looking for shelter for the night. So I can indicate it here, and then I could also indicate a specific characteristic. For example, I only want to see very specific motorcycle-friendly places or shelter places for the night. So as you can see here, I have several options. The map only shows a certain amount. So take into account, it seems like, for example, there's nothing here, but if I zoom in, you will see that they will pop up. So we do that to keep the performance high enough. So we don't show all the points of interest that are available, but only a few. And as you zoom into a certain location, you will see other options appear. So that could be a nice trip. Let's say now, for example, I want to start here in Brussels. Let's say this is my starting point. This is the place where I'll stay at the first night. I have to go back to the route planner module. I can do that via this one and continue planning, as I want to indicate that I want to map out a motorcycle route. Again, the same thing. You can click it here and make it more specific if you want. I won't do that now, but you know how it works. If you want to go back to that places of interest layer, then you click on this filter again, and then it will appear again. I can click this away, and then you will have all the options here that are available in the map box. You can click this if you want to see even more. If you want to know more about a certain hotel or place of interest, you can click it, and the system will open it in a new tab. So you can read about it and see if it really interests you to, in this case, stay there for the night. If I want to start planning, and let's say I want to map out a route, a motorcycle route from one motorcycle-friendly location to sleep to the other. So I can say I want to plan via this place of interest. And then if I go back to the route planning module, it will be indicated as my first address here. You can see there are two options here. I can plan via this place of interest, or I can add it to my route. The first one means I will show you with the next one. Let's say this is, or maybe this one is the next place I'm going to sleep out. And I want to say again, plan via this place of interest. So then the system will map out a route using this routing between this point and the next, as I have said, planned via. If I want to add to the route, that means that you add the information of this place of interest to your route. So if I save my route, as I have shown you before, the system will automatically add some places of interest. If you, while you are planning, you add specific information, so the information that is linked to this point of interest is now added to my route. If I do it for this one as well, you will see once I save this route that only this information that I have added will be shown to my route. So let's continue a bit. Let's say maybe go a bit further. I want to plan via this place of interest, and then I want to go via this place of interest, and I can continue, let's say, make a long trip to here, and that's my ending point. So I'm going to add this last one to my route. As you have seen, I haven't added those points in between. If I now save my route, again, make sure you give it a good name, you choose the right type, you give it a good description. I will now not go into that again, just to save some time. I save this route. and the system will right away under my account. So here is my route. And as I have, if I refresh my page now, nothing will happen. While I was planning, I added information to my route. You can't see because the dot is over it, but as you can see, if I hovered it, you can see that this point of interest is now also visible in my detailed page of my route. I had added the other one here, so that one is also available. The ones here in the middle, I didn't add to my route, so I didn't add that specific information, so it's not available here. So that's the difference between planning via a certain point. That means that you want your route to go via that location, but if you want to add the information to your route, once you save it, you need to choose the second option as well. What else can you do? Let's say you just make your route up front or in afterwards. You can also prepare your trip in another way. You can choose if you, let's say, go to the searcher for places of interest. You can scout them and you can choose, as we have done for the routes, you have the same kind of the same options here. You can just select, if I would be interested in beer, I could select beer, and then I could scout my route through Flanders and say, okay, I'm interested to take a visit to the brewery of Lindemans. I can click this place of interest and I can add it to my favorites. I can now close it and then again do the same with another point of interest, and then again share it with myself and add it to my favorites. If I now go back to the route planner, in a similar way, I can again go to the places of interest and then here choose to only show my favorite places. So that's how you can prepare. You can see the beer options, they are available here. If I would only want to show those specific favorites, I can again here also select the beer option. So then I have the two options that I have just added to my favorites. So that's how you can also prepare a bit. Another option is if you make a group. So if I go back to the main menu, you have the option group here. I can add a group. And here, let's say I want to make a trip to Italy. I want to go with my motorcycle and have a trip from Firenze to Rome. And I'm really interested in religious places. So that would mean I want to, upfront, I want to scout the RouteYou platform for interesting places of interest that are related to religious places. So it's already indicated here. I give it that name. And then here you have the type, but that's not really, that's for other uses. So I can choose the visibility. Everybody can view my group. That's no issue for me. Anyone can join. No, I don't really want to. And not anyone can publish. These are my religious, no, not my religious, these are religious places I want to visit. So I can give it a more extended description. You can choose an avatar. For example, I have here an icon for religious places. I can give it a logo and then I can save it. I will not do that as I have done my homework. Now go to my route channel. If you want to access, again, I did that too fast, sorry. So you go to the main menu, you go to your personal part, and then you go to my RouteYou. That takes you to your channel. And here, via this looking glass, you can go to the option of the groups. And here I get a list of all the groups that are linked to my account. And here, as you can see, I have done my homework and I made the group religious places. How you do that, I have just shown you. But when I did my homework, I already added some points of interest to this group. I'm going to show you now how you can add even more points of interest to this group. So if I go back to the places of interest and then go search for it, I have added some places of interest in Firenze and some on locations between Firenze and Rome. But let's say I want to add some more, I want to scout Rome, not for beer, but let's say, where is it? Religion, here. So a lot of things in theme of religion here in Rome. Let's zoom in a bit. And then here I can choose, okay, this church. Yes, I would like to visit this church. Now, how can I add it to the group? Well, I'm on the detailed page of this point of interest. I go to the edit button. So that's the pencil here. And I can classify it. So I click classify. Here you have 3 tabs, characteristic, themes, but also groups. Here I can select my own groups. And if I click religious places, it will get another color. And that means that this point of interest is now added to that group. I can continue and I can add another one. So again, via the pencil, classify, groups, my own groups, religious places, close. How do I go? If I go back to my RouteYou channel, via the looking glass, 2 groups, and then here religious places, you will see that where I had 8 before, I have now 10. If I now go back to the route planner, plan a route, create a route, and I now want to map out my route from Firenze to Rome. So let me zoom in a bit. So, whoops, where's Firenze? Let's just like this, Firenze, voila, there it is. So I'm just gonna do it, let's say somewhere in the middle of Firenze, and then I wanna map out, of course, I want to choose motorcycle nicest, and I wanna go all the way to Vatican City, to Rome, So I have now mapped out my route. I can save this route. So what I could do, there's 2 options. As I have shown you before, again, I could choose to show my places of interest here. So I can now select and say, I want to see religious. Once I start, it was my religious places, I think. No, or just religious. It's important to remember your group name. So you can see, this is the group with the selection I made. So I can now do it again as I have done before and plan via these points of interest. But there's also another option. Let's say I have made my route before. I dragged it to a wrong location where there are no paths. So, but you can also do it the other way around. Let's say I have mapped out my route first of all, and then I want to add my selection afterwards. That's also an option. So I'm now going to save the route. I haven't planned via these points of interest. I'm just going to save this route and show you how you can add those specific places of interest in bulk. So if I now will refresh, the system will add places of interest automatically, normally. Refresh again. Yeah, there they are. But I'm not interested in all these points of interest. So I want to replace them, but once I have prepared. So this functionality is only from a Plus account or higher. That's important to know. So I want to edit this route. I go to the pencil, and here I can choose to, first of all, remove all the places of interest, but you don't really need to do that, because if you choose add places of interest, I can choose here to replace the current places of interest. So I want to replace the ones that are added by the system, and I want to replace them. I could say not here, don't choose my places of interest, because that is an indication that you have made places of interest yourself. In this case, I have collected places of interest that are put in the system by somebody else. If you want to know how you can make your own places of interest, that's possible as well. We have had a masterclass about that, or a special about this specific theme. So you can go to our calendar, and then you have the option to review it if you want to. But in this case, I want to add place of interest of my own group. So here I have my list, and normally here with the R, I have my religious places. So I want to add those specific places of interest to my route. I will confirm, and now the system will remove the ones that were added and add only the ones I have prepared in a group before. So as you can see, there are several options to enrich your route with points of interest, and there are several ways to do that. You can do it directly while you are planning by filtering, or you can prepare your places of interest you want to visit along your route via a group, or by adding them to your favorites. You can choose which way you like to work, or that works for you actually. So Pascal, that's about planning via points of interest. Are there any questions about that?
No, no questions about this.
Okay, let's go to the last part, I think.
Yeah, so the last part, let me, yes, take over the screen. Yeah, the last part shows another powerful tool is how can you make use of other people's information or other authors to plan your route, not with points of interest, but with other routes. Let me give you an example how you can do that. So I'm going to create a route again, so you know already that option to get to the route planner. And if I go to the route planner, Rain showed you already, I can now, first of all, I'm going to go to the area north of Italy and south of Germany. I would like to make a road trip, but I have no idea. I don't know the area very well, which paths I should take. So what I want to do now is be guided by others. So there's the map layer again. Here I can choose the places of interest Rain showed you, but I'm going to show you something else. I'm going to select the routes. I want to show routes. And now the system asks me, yeah, but what type of routes would you like to show as a background? Well, in this case, I want to have motorcycle routes. And I want a specific theme, and there's a theme, the classics. So I'm going to go for the classics because I don't know the area very well. So I definitely want to see the classics, of course. And I want to make sure that I have the top quality. I want 3 stars and higher. And now below, I get a list of routes which are available. So here are a few of the classics, like Arc Alpin is of course a very famous one. And I can click one by one. So I'm click one and I click another one, but I'm gonna go for the complete selection, say, well, show me everything which is in there. And now I see all these routes are lighted up on the map. If I'm happy with that, I can continue planning. So now the map is enriched as another layer with other routes which help me to plan my route. Again, I could add points of interest as Rain showed you and switch that on. I'm not going to do that now. I'm just going to base myself on the maps I have here. I select now the planning. So I'm going to be a motorbike, and I'm going to select motor nicest, because I want to follow as much as possible the nicest paths. So I'm going to start in Lausanne, and I'm going to follow the purple line, and I do that here. You see the system doesn't exactly necessarily follow the lines which are indicated here. It's just a reference. If I want to follow per definition the purple line, I probably have to add some via points to say, well, please follow that purple line here. Sometimes the system makes a lot of detours because it thinks that this road is a bit too busy. Again, you can trust the routing, or you can say, no, I trust the reference route, which I have here, and I want to specifically follow that line here. And maybe that road is a bit too small. So in this case, you can combine it. If I want to go now from the purple to the yellow line, I just select the yellow line. And here you see also here, it's like a small difference. I can enforce it to say, put that via points on the yellow line. But it's nothing else than background information which you might like to use, but you don't have to use in this case. So if you're bored of the lines you have there and you want to go back home, well, you don't have to follow any other line. You just press the button return to the starting point, and you're there. So that's how you can use reference routes. Let me show you how powerful this is, because in the selection of routes, you can not only select the classics, but you can also select other themes, such as routes related to history, legends and myths. So you can keep on going. You can also select the routes of a specific author, or you say, I don't care about any selection, but they should be the top routes with 4 and 5 stars. So you can keep on going and selecting the routes in the area you want as a reference system. So that's a very powerful tool. So you can also use your own routes. I forgot to tell this, that you can say, well, I'm the author, only show me my routes. And that might be useful if you said, I made already quite a few routes in that area, but now I want to do something else, or use a part of the routes I created. So in that case, you select your routes. So play along with it. It's very powerful to use that kind of selection and build on the shoulders of others. So that was the end of our talk. I'm just going to check if there are some other questions. Reen?
No questions.
If we have no questions, we can all go and watch the final game of Italy-Spain. I think it's still 0-0 for the ones who are interested. But I wish you all a very happy and great holiday, and enjoy your motorbiking during this great season, and enjoy making your tours and sharing them with others. Thank you very much, and see you after the holidays, maybe for a next webinar. Goodbye, Reen. Thank you very much.
With pleasure. Bye.